Hello, welcome to Retrotainment, Episode 7. This week we're looking at the Champions League return. We're getting into it's just after the group stages. We're into the knockout stages now. Well, some of us are. United are not. They made an absolute bollocks of it. So Champions League's dead for me. Hate it. But some people still look forward to the Champions League. And for this, as my guest this week is looking forward to it himself, just like he did back at the one we're going to look back at, the 2012 Champions League, which was his choice. Don't know why, but we're looking back at the final where we had Chelsea taking on Bayern Munich, obviously. Chelsea got a bye straight into the group stages, which, that's from placing in the top 4 of the Premier League or winning the Premier League, or for winning the previous Champions League, which they didn't. So it was for placing within the top 4. So they had a slightly better start than Bayern, which is strange to think about, because when you think of Bayern, you don't think of them needing to play the playoff fixture to be in the Champions League. You always just think they'll automatically be in it. But they obviously had a rough season the season before, so they had to beat Zurich. The mighty Zurich. Do you think Chelsea would have? You think Chelsea would have gotten through Zurich now? Do you?
Oh, I don't know.
Tough opposition. But once they got in, they had they didn't have a great group to play against. The Bayern had Napoli, Man City, and Villarreal. Not a great group when you're looking at it.
No.
They did manage to top that group, and then they went through Basel, Marseille, and then finally Real Madrid to get to the finals. Now, Basel and Marseille, not really great sides. So, you'd kind of expect them to beat them. So they only really, they got kind of 2 handy enough ones for the... Well, I say they got handy enough ones. I think Basel knocked United out this season. So maybe Basel were big hitters that season. I don't know. But they managed.
I think they might have been. Hakim. Remember the guy with the long hair? He was playing for Basel. Hakim Yakin or something.
But I think he was the only player. I don't think the rest of them were
maybe that's the only one.
I think United just made a balls of it, and we took too many draws in it.
I don't know why. Hakim something anyway. He was pretty decent. Yeah.
Hughes had a slightly better group. Leverkusen, Valencia, and Genk. Leverkusen, tough side. Valencia solid side. Yeah, solid. Even now, Valencia still a solid enough side. Genk are a bit of a walkover, though, realistically. So kind of one's in the bag there.
But that was the year that Kevin De Bruyne was scouted by Chelsea.
Bet you wish you had kept him.
Well, that's Jose Mourinho nowadays, yeah.
But you had a harder run in then, Napoli as your next game, not someone to be overlooked.
And the comeback to win that game too.
You had to win it in extra time in the second leg, which was at home, I believe.
Yeah, 4-1 at home.
Yeah, 4-1 at home after losing
3-1 away that we lost.
And how'd you, when you went into that game, how were you feeling? 3-1 down.
I remember. Do you know what? Actually, that's a good game as a kind of a preface to this final, to how the season went, because that was the game where Roberto Di Matteo was made interim coach.
Yes,
officially, and that's when Andreas Villas-Boas was sacked because he didn't know what he was doing.
No,
and Di Matteo came in, and I remember going into this saying, okay, right, this is Di Matteo's a Chelsea legend, so he was always going to have the backing of real Chelsea fans, you know what I mean?
He's an Italian boy.
Yeah, exactly, and it would be not too dissimilar. Yeah, exactly. He was an Italian boy, so he was like, you know what, my team was Lazio, so I definitely want to beat Napoli. But aside from that, though, it would be not too dissimilar for yourself if like Eric Cantona came back, you know, for that first game, you know, or someone like that. And Di Matteo was one of those guys that came into the Chelsea fold back in the mid-90s, and along with Zola really kind of redefined Chelsea Football Club. So him managing that game, we were thinking, well, look, let's just see what happens. And, Chelsea get an early goal, and there's a couple of goals, and then Napoli get one back, and you're like, oh, shit. And it's 2-1. Where I remember sitting watching it with my dad, with my brother, Joe, Jordan, and Dean, as you know them boys as well. And we were kind of just going, boom. Ivanovic, of course, with that absolute belter as the ball comes into the box near the end of the game. I mean, when it got to 3-1, we were like, what the fuck? And all you're thinking is, do not let them score.
Yeah.
Do not let them score. And Ivanovic gets that winner laid on, and, you're thinking, oh, shit, like, this is crazy, like.
Before a ball was kicked when you walked in, 3-1 down, thinking...
Oh no! I thought for sure. I thought with Di Matteo, I was thinking,
manager bounce.
I just want a good performance. Like let's get a good league position at least.
Yeah. Do you know what I'd compare it to? And obviously it's a little bit different because obviously it was a little bit later in the situation and you just needed to go into the extra time to win it. But when United were up against PSG not too long ago, and we scored one early, and we were like, oh, lovely. Lukaku was there. Lukaku scores one early, and you're like, oh, we're back in it. Then he gets a second, and you're like, oh, we're back in it. Now we have them. And then PSG score one, and that's when your heart sinks. And I'd say it was the same for you when they got that goal back. Your heart just sinks because you're thinking, after such a good start, and now they've gotten that away goal, that's it. We're over. We're done. Forget about it. And as much as it hurts at that time, when you then go on to win it, the absolute joy is it's unbelievable.
It is. It was one of those things I remember just going like, whoa. I think it was like, it was just at the end actually as well of the first half of extra time as well. I think 105 or something. Ivanovic scored the goal.
Yeah. But then obviously you go into Benfica and you kind of walk over them. It wasn't.
We did. Raul Meireles with that basically Maradona goal in his own way. Raul Meireles.
That was a handy one for you, though. Like that was your easy run, I suppose.
Yeah. With them, then we met. Obviously.
The next game wasn't easy. Barcelona, and you're talking. This isn't. I suppose Barcelona have never really been a bad side, but this is a very prime, very tough Barcelona side. Like this is messy.
And if you watch those two games back to back, like the home and the away fixture, like we got done on the home fixture in a lot of ways. Yeah. Like
it was a 1-0 loss in the home fixture. Or no, so he's won 1-0 in the home fixture, wasn't it?
You tell the narrative there on that one. This is just something I can't even.
Yeah, he's won the first leg 1-0, but like in scoreline,
it wasn't enough going to the new camp. No, you know what I mean?
It's a scoreline that you've won with, but even in the game, you like watching that game, you're like, oh, these are gonna destroy us now when they get us into the new camp, and the new camp is a hard spot to go to. Like even with a 1-0 victory in your pocket, it's a tough spot to go into. As many teams have learned to the fatality, PSG being one of the big ones, going in there thinking cruise control, just don't lose by 7. Well, and they get done by it. But yous went in, and yous were losing for most of the game.
Well, obviously they scored early on. You have the stats in front of you there, don't you?
Yeah, like they score early on, and I'd say that put the shivers up you then.
Yeah, so it was. So basically, Busquets scored first. I remember that. And then Iniesta scored. So we were winning 1-0 going into the tie. Then Busquets scores, and you think, "Oh shit." And then it's all meltdown. John Terry gets sent off then in 37th minute because he needs fucking Alexis Sanchez up the hole. Whatever Alexis Sanchez said.
Do you think it's a sending off when you look back at it?
do you know what? I mean, back in the 80s and the 90s now. I mean, it was a silly thing. It was very unlike John Terry to do, because as much as John Terry was, he was a professional captain.
Yeah.
He didn't have those Roy Keane moments too often where he just turn around and swing a dig. Like,
no,
he didn't, like, to be fair to him. But whatever Alexis Sanchez done that day, I don't know whether it was it was frustration. I mean, it was 1-1 on the tie, so I mean, there was no reason for him, to have a meltdown.
To lose the head, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a sending off. I mean, you said to me at the time that you didn't think it was. It was more of a, like, get away from me kind of thing. It wasn't like
it's reactionary, which is probably what got him the red card. But I don't know if it was a. I don't know.
It should have been a yellow. To be honest with you, Mr. Puyol, the most overrated fucking centre back, in my opinion, just because he puts his head on the line and looks like a wild Samoan. I mean, I don't know how he gets into anyone's world 11. You know what I mean? No offense to you, Noel. I know you picked him.
Yeah.
But I've always thought Puyol was overrated. I mean, are you telling me Puyol is better than Nesta or Cannavaro or,
Maldini.
even Piqué, to be fair. Well, Maldini could just play everywhere. But no, in fairness, I respect Puyol. He was a good player, but he was straight over. And this was the Barcelona method. Always the Barcelona method in the Champions League. The Pep Guardiola thing. Crying, just like little bitches, as they always were. Oh, we are such a fan. We are a club of the fans. Look, we don't have sponsorship. We UNICEF, and then the next year, fucking, they had sponsorship. Like, ask my bollocks. I hate Barcelona. Sorry, guys. So for me, this was a very exciting one. I'm not going to lie. Don't get me wrong. When I say hate's a strong word, you know what I mean.
They're just the club you don't like. They're the one you look to lose. Like, you're
it's not a hatred. Like, give me Real Madrid any day. Like, it's not a hatred. It's just more of a, I don't believe their bullshit philosophy. I think it's full of shit. You know what I mean? It's and it's been proven to be. But so like Puyol's in the ear and all that, and you're thinking, oh, like, the yellow card, I think would have sufficed.
Yeah,
I didn't
straight
think it was
red.
Straight red. It was purely the ref was influenced by.
And I'd say your head was just, this is the time over. We're out.
I remember as clear as day sitting there with my dad. Pedro passes it to Iniesta. Iniesta scores then 2 minutes before halftime, and you're thinking, this is it. Like, this is just going to be a fucking hammering. Like, this is we're playing with 10 men. Jose Bosingua had to go in and make himself as remember the unibrow?
Yeah.
Portuguese unibrow.
A makeshift centre back.
Yeah, and then Frank Lampard, as only Frank Lampard could, with an absolute bit of genius, with like a pass through to Ramirez just before halftime. It was actually 45 minutes plus 1 or 2, I'm sure. But hits it with the, that pass I'm talking about, hits it with the outside of the boot, so it slows the ball down for Ramirez. He sees the run, and Ramirez goes one-on-one with Victor Valdez. And I'll be honest with you, Ramirez was always so hot and cold that you're thinking, this isn't the guy that we want on the ball here.
No.
And and as only a Brazilian player can do, just breaks out some fucking Brazilian magic.
This was a hot day from
oh my God, outside the box, a chip over Victor Valdez.
Yeah.
And I remember Victor Valdez was like, what the fuck?
And he's a top keeper.
Yeah. So, yeah, and the rest of the game,
that restored a bit of hope to you, I'd say, but you're still on the back foot because you're 10 men without your captain.
Oh, but this was a demolition job, like.
Nail biting stuff, I'd say.
Dude, demolition job. And, it's ironic because there was a penalty then as well. Messi hits the bar, misses the penalty. And then shortly after, Ashley Cole then hits that big long ball, and it looks like he's just clearing it.
Yeah.
And I remember going, that's it, get rid of the ball. Like, go back to schoolboy football. And then the commentator, just because you didn't even see Torres on the screen at the time. And he goes, Torres is onside here.
Yeah, this is a Torres that you're kind of thinking, he hasn't been great for Chelsea. He was kind of a flop for that season.
That season, yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of a bit of a flop, and you're kind of thinking, Jesus, anyone but him, please, because he's had a few stinkers where he's missed open nets and stuff. Yeah, and you're just thinking,
Yeah.
anyone but him, please, anyone but Torres. But no, not this time. This time he's back to his best, and
Puts
his
Valdez on his
best is up
arse.
there. His best is up there as well.
Yeah, he had a great season for Chelsea the next season. Then I mean, he scored 20 plus goals. So like people always say Torres is a flop at Chelsea. Maybe in terms of not scoring 40 goals a season, no way. I mean, he basically single handedly won the Europa League the next season for Chelsea.
That's it. That first season though, he was a complete flop for you. Like
that first season, but I mean, this was just but the funny thing about this was when you go back and watch it, no one realised Torres is onside here because it just looked like a clearance from Ashley Cole. But
I think it was just a clearance.
But this is the genius of Fernando Torres. Yeah. He's constantly watching and he goes, boom, he's on the last line. He's in the clear. You're going, oh my God. And that famous Gary Neville. Gary Neville, literally. I mean, Gary Neville was a Chelsea fan for that whole Champions League run, to be fair, because
I think Gary Neville is an English fan. Like he'll
exactly
any of the English
exactly
except maybe
and he kept saying written in the stars, and I think he was the one that kept saying, I think Chelsea are going to win this Champions League.
He kept saying it in the chat. He kept saying it in the final. Yeah, he said it a good couple of times in the final that he's like, this is written. Yeah, this is written in the stars.
So it's ironic because I'm after finding it here, right? So Busquets scores in 35 minutes. Iniesta scores in 43. The first Chelsea goal was Ramirez 45 minutes plus one.
Yeah.
And the second Chelsea goal was Torres 90 plus one.
Yeah. That Torres goal though, it's not particularly needed, but it calms the nerves completely when you get it because the game's over now.
Well, yeah, because it gives you that aggregate result. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas you'd win anyway because you'd have had the away goal for the 2-2 overall result. But there's always the chance that Barca could go and score in the 90 plus 2 minute, you know.
And so then we have the final.
You have the final, right? So you walk into the final against Bayern Munich.
In Munich.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is them at home, which is, this is just look at a draw, like, because where the final is going to be played is decided months in advance. So it's not, oh, why did they get home field advantage? It's nothing like that. It's just pot luck, 1 in a million shot that they get the home field advantage. This is a strong Bayern team. Like, they had dominated up till here. Like, going into this,
I was nervous.
Going into this, even if you had your full strength team, you would have been nervous. But you had no Ramirez because he picked up too many yellows. You had no John Terry. I would say you were just looking at this. You had quite a couple of injuries as well, if I remember correctly. A couple of key players out with injury. I'd say you were going into this looking at that Bayern team.
Terry was obviously banned because of that silly red card.
Ramirez banned for his number of yellows. But I'd say you were looking at this and just going, well, it was a good run. But it's a one-off game. It's a one-off game, and that's what everyone has to remember about a final. It's a one-off game, so it doesn't matter.
Ryan Bertrand played in left wing, you remember?
His first big game, I think, as well.
First proper start for Chelsea, yeah.
Imagine that first start as a young, he must have been 18 or 19 at the time, was he?
Yeah.
Starting in the Champions League final. Jesus, that's some pressure.
No pressure, kid.
Yeah, that'll turn you into a diamond fairly quick.
David Luiz and Gary Cahill. All I will say about that game, and Ashley Cole especially at left back, Bosingwa at right back, but I'll say one thing. Gary Cahill and David Luiz at the end of that match were shocked. Do you remember that? They were just...
Oh, God.
That was warrior performance. That was David Luiz's best performance ever.
Yeah. But you go in against a Bayern team who you've got a young, up-and-coming, but still one of the best in the world, Manuel Neuer in nets. Now, you compare that to who you have in nets, and it's Peter Cech. So you've got a pretty like for like there, not a bad keeper to have on either end of the pitch, I don't think. But then you've got Philip Lahm, going up, who you're comparing to Bosingwa.
Yeah.
So you'll get edge Bayern, I suppose, there. If you say keepers is a draw, edge Bayern on that. Boateng with Luiz, I think that's a fairly close one. I don't think Boateng wasn't really up to much at this point. So I'd say maybe give the edge to Luiz being the better player there.
Possibly. Maybe
it's
Boateng being the better defender at the time, because in
Yeah.
fairness, he did have a great Bayern Munich career once he left Man City. So I'd probably give the edge to Boateng there, yeah.
I'd say it's very close. So I'd say even call that one a draw. Then you have Cahill up against, just I'm going to butcher this name, Tomaszuk.
Yes, yeah.
He's a quality player. I know he's not mainly a centre back, but he was some player. And then I'd give you Ashley Cole over Contento. Cole's a better, definitely.
Cole's one of the best ever, isn't he? So
Schweinsteiger and Kalou, I'd say Schweinsteiger.
there's no comparison.
Tony Kroos and Obi. I think you're giving that to Tony Kroos again.
Yeah.
Robin and Lampard.
Well, there you go.
That's a closer one now.
You're talking about Frank Lampard, the greatest goal scorer midfielder of all time, just purely by the numbers.
Now I know we're comparing these, but these are obviously Frank Lampard's a midfielder and Robin's a winger. I'm just going by the positions on the team sheet, which is obviously just
no. I'm with you.
They are different players, but neither one of these are to be overlooked.
But you know who you're picking in your team week in, week out, and that's going to be Lampard.
You're definitely going to pick Lampard anyway, but yeah.
Because there's goals every week.
But I mean, if someone turned around to you and offered you Robin, especially at that time, you weren't going to turn your nose up at that.
But we had Robin, so I'm all right with
I know, yeah, but you wouldn't have disliked still having him,
No, hell no. I would have taken him over Ryan Bertrand at 18 years old, being put in his first winger game, yeah.
Then you have, obviously, Thomas Muller, who, I don't know, up until then, he hadn't really been great for Bayern. But you're comparing him
to be fair, that year Muller was pretty.
That year he'd been very good, but previous years he'd kind of had a bit of a bad run coming up to him. But then it's comparing him to Bertrand here on the list, the way it's written out here. You're taking Muller. Frank Ribery over Mata. Mata was very good at this time.
Yeah, Mata was pretty good. Different type of players.
Yeah,
Ribery was defenders. Yeah,
Ribery was a monster as well. And I think
would look for those little balls over the top and stuff. He was a different kind of winger, but Ribery at that time was an absolute beast. I mean, we're talking about one of the best players on the planet.
And then Gomez and Drogba. Take your pick. Yeah, no, take your pick.
I know who I'm picking. Yeah, I know.
I'd say I would give the edge to Drogba, but I wouldn't sleep on Mario Gomez either.
Yeah, but we're talking. Well, look, how did this final?
I know, forward? Yeah, but when you look at it, if someone had offered you Mario Gomez back then, you wouldn't have really been saying, "Well, we don't need him." You'd take him.
Well, not if I was not if I had a Drogba, I'd have been leave him somewhere. I don't care about Mario Gomez.
I'd probably take him as well anyway. But this is those are teams. I think we won't get too much into the substitutes, but I think the substitutes are Chelsea have the better bench.
Well, they're very key later on in the match.
They are key and later, and we'll get into them when they come on. Yeah, but I think in terms of a bench, I think Chelsea had the better bench overall here anyway.
Yeah.
But Chelsea are coming into this on the back of a very bad season. And I know you say you switch managers obviously midway through it, but you miss out on top 4 this season, which Spurs get top 4 for the first time in God knows how long, and then don't get into the Champions League final because of obviously the end result of this being Chelsea winning, which I'd say you were delighted about.
But I mean, Chelsea had come off as well, and I think one bit of confidence would have been Chelsea had come off beating Liverpool in the FA Cup the previous Saturday as well, which was...
Yeah, in terms of Premier League, you had a very bad season, though.
Oh, definitely. They were 6th, and it was...
6th by a long shot. And it's kind of the opposite, because United had a terrible Champions League, and then had quite a good Premier League, but obviously lost on goal difference, which still hurts. But that was the big Aguero goal, which I still hate. But that's part of the history, and you can't rewrite it. But we go into this game. How were you feeling coming into this game? Did you think you had a chance at winning this? Obviously, with the likes of Ramirez and Terry gone.
Nervous is the only word I can use. But in terms of thinking we had a chance, absolutely.
Yeah.
it's a one-off game. You know,
Mm.
you've nothing to lose in this situation as a Chelsea fan.
Mm.
You're in your second Champions League final. You're in Bayern Munich's backyard.
Mm.
All you want to do is try and keep the faith, as the old Chelsea saying goes. Anyway,
Yeah. But like, if
but
someone, for example, if someone had given you £1 million and said, go down to bookies and stick that on one of those teams winning, obviously now with hindsight, because we know the result, it's easy to say, oh,
I would have always,
but
I would have always put it on my team for sure. I mean,
but that's pride, isn't it? That's more team, like pride in your team. But if you were to bet from, not from the heart, but to bet from the head, would you have gone Chelsea or would you have gone Bayern, do you think? I know it's hard to judge now because you look back.
To be honest with you, I did put a sneaky bet on it anyway, and I did put Chelsea on.
Yeah, and fair enough. You always bet on your own team, obviously, but
yeah, I think Gary Neville was really, you know, it's funny that was when I started liking Gary Neville, because he was saying it. I just think this trophy has Chelsea's name written on it. And
I think it did. Like, in a way, like, you look at the games that it took for you to get there. He's had the harder run in, and he's hadn't had a great season. He's changed manager midway through. John Terry getting sent off in the semi-finals. Messi missing a penalty, which, you know, you wouldn't have expected him to miss. It was looking like there was something dragging you there, other than obviously the players and their own will, but it looked like there was some sort of divine right.
It was, yeah.
But I think from a neutral perspective, and obviously it's harder to judge now because I look back and I know what happened, but I think as a neutral perspective, I think looking at this, I would have said, I think Bayern are going to put these to the sword here, because you're looking at, they still have a full strength team and you've lost two big players. Torres and Drogba that season hadn't been great. It has to be said. Like,
Drogba was awesome in like the cup competitions,
but like,
it was kind of strange, and it was like Torres was doing bits and pieces in the.
They had important goals, but not a lot.
Yeah, like Torres was doing pretty okay in the league, like, but like Drogba was kind of like the guy that when Torres wasn't firing, they were like, right, we're bringing in the big guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, Anelka had been shunned to fucking
the side, off you go,
because of fucking Villas-Boas just was a prick.
Didn't like him,
and still is a prick, to be fair. I'm glad to see he never had a good fucking career, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, he quit Marseille recently or something, didn't he? And it was like, well,
yeah,
where do you go next? Like, because Marseille's a pretty decent
that
team,
one was pretty funny, because he said, don't sign that player, and then they signed him and he went, all right, I'm gone then.
That's one way to get rid of him, yeah.
Yeah, just sign this lad. But
absolute clown, yeah. Then he went to Tottenham, remember?
Didn't do much there either.
So it was one of those things, right? So it was like Drogba was banging the goals in the cup competitions and scoring Drogba goals. This is the thing that people don't realize when they go, oh, well, Henry had more goals than Drogba, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. Okay, Shearer had more goals than Henry. But like, what does that prove? We're talking about big game players here who win trophies, who score goals in the important moments. I mean, we could look at, right, you as a Man United fan can look at Eric Cantona. Eric Cantona's stats probably don't match up to certain players either. But it's those moments.
Rashford's outscored him.
There you go. But it's those pivotal moments. You're going to take Eric Cantona in a cup final ahead of Rashford, you know?
I'd take Eric Cantona now. If they turned around to me and said, you can have that Eric Cantona now or you can keep that Rashford, I'd probably say, give me that Eric Cantona right now.
Absolutely. And that's the problem with football fans now, that they've got so much into this stats nonsense.
I think stats are important to an extent.
They are to an extent, but at the same time, like Robbie Keane, right, is one of the highest scoring international players in international football. But I mean, very rare. I think he only had 1 or 2 seasons where it was over 20 goals in all competitions.
Yeah,
because he was playing against postmen like the Faroe Islands and scoring ridiculous amount of goals.
I think it's a bit unfair. Robbie Keane is a hard one for me, because I think Robbie Keane was a top striker. I think there were certain injuries. You look at what he was able to do as well. Like, he's one of the top. I think he was a top striker, but he just never made it at a top club.
Where though? Where was he a top striker?
You look at like when we played Germany, and he's that year Neuer, not Neuer, Oliver Kahn conceded against 2 players in the World Cup.
Yeah, but again, you're talking about international football. To be a top striker, if you want to be a top striker in terms of, your Miroslav Klose's or your, Ruben Nistelrooy's or anything like that, he doesn't come close to these guys.
No, he's not. He's not at that level. But I think he does get overlooked a bit as well.
But the point, no, like he was a good striker. Don't get me wrong. But the point I'm making is that, like, you look at like a Didier Drogba, right? Might have only scored, say, 16, 17 goals in all competitions that year, but look how important the goals were.
And I think that's the thing. He wasn't firing on all cylinders, but when you needed him, he was.
There you go.
And I think that's the important distinction here. That, like, yes, he didn't score many, but he scored the important ones. Now, obviously, if he'd scored a few more, maybe he wouldn't have needed to rely on winning the Champions League to get into the next year's Champions League, which obviously you'd look back and go, fucking wish he'd been scoring more anyway. But
yeah, of course, yeah.
But at the same time, you don't take it away from the man. But the game kicks off. The game kicks off, and Ashley Cole, within about 30 seconds, has put in one of the meatiest challenges you're ever going to see on somebody. I don't know. I think it's only because it's so early in the game that he doesn't get that yellow card, because Jesus, he leveled them. Well,
he was laying down the marker, wasn't it? It was kind of like it was a real Paul McGrath style challenge, just like fucking, we're not here in your backyard just to fucking keel over, like, you know what I mean?
But I think that's why he did it. I think you're right. I think he did it. I think that was the intention, because he did it so early that it was unlikely to get a card.
Yeah.
Because you don't put in a challenge like that 20 minutes into a game, he's getting a yellow for that. 100%.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. I think you're right as well. We're both in agreement on that. That's a real British, old school British style of football.
Hit them hard. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and let them know you're there.
Yeah.
The ref won't give you a card. He'll let you away with it. If you get one, unlucky, but like it's worth the risk to let them know.
Yeah.
Obviously that was the plan. I don't think it really worked too well, because Bayern kind of dominated for the first while of this match now, which they're at home in their own home stadium. Yous have lost quite a few players coming into this. David Luiz is, as you said, this is probably the best game he ever had, but he's still David Luiz, and he's making silly mistakes as well.
Yeah.
That he's always going to make. They kind of came out. They came out hard, and they were hitting you with a lot of shots. None going on target though. That's the main thing. They were taking a lot of shots, and they had your defense under a lot of pressure. And Ashley Cole was incredible here now, to be fair, because he makes 6 or 7 really big blocks throughout this entire game. Yeah. And without him, I think you do lose this. I think had he gotten sent off or anything, not even sent off, but if he had to be subbed for injury or anything, good luck to you, I think.
I think him and Peter Cech were like the unsung heroes big time in this.
I think so, yeah. Cech, definitely. Cech, I'd say, for me, probably should have been given man of the match. I think Cech was probably... Drogba gets given man of the match, but I think Cech was probably the one that it should have been given to.
Yeah.
I think the fact that Drogba scores a goal is what gets him man of the match, but I think...
But I do think Cech should have been man of the match, personally, yeah.
He makes a huge save at around, like, he's been under pressure the whole time. He's had a few breakout moments, but not much to write home about. And at about the 20-minute mark, I think it's Ribery hits a shot that deflects off somebody, and Cech gets his hands on it, and he doesn't just palm it away, he catches it, which is something you don't see too much anymore. A lot of keepers don't catch anything now, that's how the game has changed. Don't take the risk of trying to catch it, just stop it. Stop the shot, don't catch it. And maybe some keepers need to start looking at that and start catching more, because if you catch it, they can't get a rebound.
Yeah.
But he catches it, kind of lets you off a little bit here. How are you feeling kind of going into, like, at this point? Like, you've kind of been under pressure the whole time, and it's a loud stadium. There's only...
Well, let's be fair. Like, even if we fast forward a bit without going on the play-by-play, like, we get to like 70, 80 minutes of this barrage, and don't get me wrong, we have a couple of chances and whatnot, but it's pretty much backs against the wall stuff where you're thinking, right, they're just hoping to nick a goal on the break somehow. But then, you know, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you exactly what was happening. I was sitting on my couch and we were planning to go out on the beer after this. It was like, if Chelsea win, I'm going out on the beer.
Oh yeah.
Chelsea lose, I'm not fucking going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it
Stay
was
in.
me and it was me and my brother and my cousin meeting up with some people down Bray somewhere. And I was talking to Paul Tracy actually at the time. Shout out to Paul Tracy. It was such a weird one, and we were going to a party or something beforehand, and then going out, and I think that's what happened. But when Thomas Muller hits that header in, like with 9 minutes or 8 minutes to go or something.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah, about 8 minutes. I'd say that was just it. I'm done.
I was like, oh man, I was deflated. Yeah. But I mean, I didn't. You know what? The one thing about it is, I didn't leave the fucking room. I just couldn't watch. And then enter Fernando Torres, and again, Torres is going to play a pivotal role here, because even as something simple as running down the line, which we hadn't had.
I think he made a big change. I think he did make a big change to this game.
He did, because he was put out on the wing, you know, in his unnatural position. But what he did was he used the bit of pace that he still had left to try and run down the wings. He wins the corner with, I mean, what?
2 minutes left to go.
Oh, good Lord. And my little sister, Alana, will tell you, her ears has still never been the same. I broke her eardrum with how loud I shouted, and which
big Drogba.
Some have actually said that this may be the best header of all time.
It's a very good header.
And you know what? I think you'd find it really hard to argue that. I mean, it's almost outside the box, and it goes right into the top corner. I mean, Neuer gets a palm on it and cannot touch it. It's in the postage stamp, as they say.
The thing is, it's not only is it in the top corner, right, which is obviously great placement, because it's very hard for a keeper to get there. It's the power.
Oh my God!
It's a bullet.
It's literally a bullet. I'd safely say it is the best header of all time in terms of
definitely up there.
It has to be the best header of all time purely because of how important the goal was too.
Now, if we just rewind a little bit there to Gomez's goal, the header, I think Cech is a little weak on this.
Muller's goal, yeah.
Muller's goal. I think Cech is a little weak on this because it does come at him. Now, he's unlucky because it hits the crossbar.
No, but you see, the thing about it is Muller was just genius with that.
It's a great header.
He headed it down, and I mean, a keeper can't. Yeah, you know, a keeper can only be so big. And Cech done what Schmeichel would do, for example.
Came out and made himself big.
His body, you know, and.
Yeah. I do remember there being a few questions, though. I remember back then there was a few questions of, could Cech have been better for that? I do think that's a little harsh on him. But there was a few questions of, could he have been better for that? Now, before we get to that goal, there is a disallowed goal earlier in the game.
Yes, of course.
Now, offside, Frank Ribery. It's a tight offside. Now, I think it is right that it's given as offside. Now, there'll be some people who'll argue, well, it comes off a Chelsea player, and that it does, but it's deflected off a Chelsea player, not kicked. Is the difference. So it still would count as offside if he's offside. It's close though.
It would be given offside these days as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was close. This would have been one for VAR. This would have been one for VAR to step in on, because this was close. I do think.
And I think VAR would have. I think he would have been.
I think he was offside.
Because of the stakes, I think they would have definitely disallowed it. But
I think he was offside. He's a foot offside, but it's a close one, and that's an escape because obviously VAR wasn't around back then. So if that linesman doesn't stick that flag up, there's no going back and checking it. Like obviously on the replays, they'll look at it and go, "Oh, he actually is offside," but there's nothing to stop. Like the goal doesn't get taken away. So, as they say, to be a champion, you need a little bit of luck on your side. And thankfully, the linesman was on point that day, and he caught it. Gomez misses a few golden opportunities in this game as well. Like, good God, like you would have put the house on him scoring a couple of these, like, or at least hitting the target. He just balloons them all over. But you get to the end of the 88 minute, and Drogba scores that header, and you're going into extra time. All you're hoping is just hold on for the 5 minutes, because obviously you have your.
I thought we were going to win that up until the point that Drogba then gives a penalty away.
We said the subs made a big difference here. So obviously, after Muller scores this goal, he gets subbed off. Obviously, they're just thinking 83rd minute or whatever it was. They're thinking, just hold on to it. We've been all over them this whole game. They've had their backs up against the wall the whole game.
They've got nothing left. Yeah,
we've finally scored. The players are drained. Get this Van Buten on, and he'll just see out the game. Let Muller off. Now, when you look at that in terms of a managerial choice, it's the right choice to make. You know.
Yeah.
It's the right choice to make. You don't need him for another game, but they still have the league to play and stuff. So it's fine, take him off. But God, does it come back to haunt them, because it's when they take him off, the dynamic of the game changes when they took him off. Now, you can say the dynamic changes because of the Chelsea substitutes taking Bertrand off and bringing on Malouda, and taking off Kalou and bringing on Torres. You can say that they're the ones that make the change, but I think it's a little from A and a little from B. I think the Bayern changes also hurt them as well.
Well, they're a little bit more defensively set up, aren't they? And Chelsea are.
They're not attacking as much, which let you attack. And bringing Torres on, it's a stroke of genius here, because you bring Torres on afterwards, and you go, or sorry, Torres is before, but you have brought on attacking substitutes, Malouda and Torres. You can't take the pressure off these guys, because if you give these lads a chance, they'll take it, and they do. And that's the thing. You score this header, you go into injury time, or sorry, extra time, not injury time, extra time. And this is the first time Chelsea look like they're taking the game, but it looks like the players have got belief that they can win, because you come out in the first half of of extra time, and you are the better side. For the first time in the entire game, you are the better side. Like this whole game so far has been
Could have won it in that, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the players have finally gotten the belief, we can do it. But the defenders, the likes of Luiz, is drained. You can see it in him. He's making sloppy tackles. He's drained. Mata doesn't have any legs left in him, which is strange, because you don't make a third substitute. And it's kind of strange, because you're thinking some of these boys need to come off. Like, you need to do this. And then obviously Drogba makes a striker's tackle in the box, and you're just looking at him like.
And it was actually quite soft. Like,
it is soft.
It's not like he doesn't hack the legs off him, but it is still technically a foul. You know,
he's kicked him in the ankle, and it's a striker's tackle, as they say. You know, strikers don't know how to tackle because they don't have to do it, and that's what it is. Now it does take Ribery out of the game. That's the one big thing here. He gives away a penalty, but Ribery is gone, and Ribery has been tearing that your right hand side. He's kind of been tearing down it a lot this whole game.
Smart tackle from Drogba. I wonder, was he? It's like, is Drogba the seventh son of a seventh son that knows something that we don't know?
If he'd done it a little bit further up the field, it might have been a lot smarter.
Yeah.
Obviously, big penalty, and I think it's funny here. I can't remember what player it is, because obviously Robin takes the penalty. I can't remember who it is. Maybe you might. But there's someone just following him around, because obviously there's a delay as we get
it was actually Cole, yeah. It was actually Cole.
Is it actually Cole walking around behind them in his ear the whole time? You're gonna miss, you're gonna miss, you're gonna miss, you're gonna miss. Just the whole time. And it's about 2 or 3 minutes of just this one player berating this lad that you're gonna miss. So obviously,
genius.
Oh yeah, like, you know, it's part of the game, like psychological warfare. So Czech steps up. I think if you go back in time here, and add VAR, I think this penalty is getting retaken, because I think Czech does come off the line, but that's not why it gets retaken. And I thought this was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because Robin hasn't even started his run up to this penalty, and David Luiz is in the box, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, that's encroachment. You're not allowed to be there. Why has the ref not called that? And why is David Luiz standing in the box? What is he doing? But obviously, someone throws a beach ball down at the back of the net to try and get in Czech's head. But a huge save, because he doesn't palm it away. It kind of hits his legs,
Yeah.
and then he grabs a hold of it. That's a massive save. I'd
just
say
so comforting. Just so
I'd say that put the hope in you then.
That's when I knew.
Yeah.
That's when I knew we're winning this. And I didn't think we were going to score a goal. I was like, we're winning this on penalties. And and I think that's why the third sub didn't happen.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and he's had a couple of chances later on in the second, like in this extra time.
Yeah, Drogba had a couple of chances as well, and I know Lampard took a couple of Rangers as well. But
now, speaking of Lampard, actually, this was something I was going to say to you. Lampard's obviously come into this as the captain, and we're all used to Lampard being the attacking midfielder. Not what we got from Lampard here.
No, very, very professional performance from Lampard.
Very different Lampard. Very defensively minded.
Yeah, and in a way that you kind of went, right, this guy is just an all-round midfielder here. Like he literally played the Robbie Keane role for us. Do you know what I mean?
Because I remember when I was watching it, I was listening. I was like, I haven't heard Lampard's name at all. Not that I hadn't heard it, because I'd heard it in defensive, but I was like, I haven't heard Lampard's name in terms of taking a shot, doing anything in their half of the field. I was just like, now there is a couple of bits of lovely little skill from him here that just show the player he was. But overall, I was like, I haven't heard anything in terms of Lampard attacking them. And I was like, that's not what Lampard was about. And as you say, it just shows what he could do when it was called upon.
Organizational skills.
I think he's been given the captaincy. Obviously, John Terry's not there. And I think he said to himself, I think he knew it's defensively that we need to be solid here, not attacking. If we get the chances, we'll take them. But we need to make sure we don't concede. And I think that's why he sat back. He made that decision. Now, whether he made it or the manager made it, but he stuck to it. And it was just something I noticed because I was like, "This is so weird." Like, not.
I'm glad you brought that up actually, because I don't think it gets spoken enough about.
Yeah, it gets overlooked a lot, I think.
It does, and the thing was, it was like everyone knows him and Terry were like
tight.
You know that, and it was like Terry probably had a conversation with him beforehand. Look, tonight you're gonna have to do my fucking job because I don't trust Gaza or because Cahill only came in fucking January. Don't forget,
only a young player.
And then David Luiz, I'd say he said, "Look, you need to fucking just make sure you have."
That lad's insane. Yeah.
So it was almost like Lamps was playing fucking holding midfielder.
Yeah, I think he was. I think that's kind of the position he did play here. But no, I thought it was something that I better mention before we get.
No, and I appreciate it. Yeah. Between Cech, Ashley Cole, and Lampard, they steadied the ship at the back. You know what I mean? Drogba was waiting up top for whatever moment he could pounce on.
Whatever scraps he could get, yeah.
Yeah. But those three players, my God, they're the unsung heroes in this in this
game, definitely, yeah. But obviously we get to kind of come into the last 3 minutes of extra time. You can see nobody wants to attack. They're all just like the ref could have just
I think they both accepted fate. Yeah.
And at that point, you're kind of looking and you're like, can the ref just blow this up and can we just get to the penalties? Like, stop wasting this 4 minutes. Like, nobody's playing. They're all just kicking the ball around. Like, you know, they may as well be at a training session at this point. Like, but we get to penalties. And obviously, now, how are you? Like, I know you've said you were like, oh, we're definitely winning here. Obviously, the last Champions League final years were at, penalties didn't go so well. Was any of that in your head at all?
I didn't. I'll be 100% honest with you. I mean, that one was just a farce. It was like, fuck's sakes. Like, again, the gods were just with Man United on that day, and Terry happened to slip.
You need the bit of luck. You need the bit of luck.
Yeah. I mean, literally an inch on the inside of that, and Chelsea won in 2008, right? But yeah, I didn't think of that, to be honest with you.
Didn't come into your head at all, no? No, that's fair enough.
Purely because I was just so focused on the here and
just in the moment, yeah.
Now, like, if you'd have said it to me, if you'd have been there beside me, I'd have been, oh, shut the fuck up, Ted. Like, you know what I mean?
But if I had been there, I would have been saying it to you because I'd have been
I know you
jabbing at you. Come on.
That's why, you know. Ted
that's why you're better off. That's why you're better off not having someone there
anymore. Probably would have accidentally stabbed you.
But no, you go into the penalties.
I'll tell you what's in my head coming up to the penalties. It's like, right, This is a lottery now.
Mm.
This is, I think it would be cruel if we lost it now. Do you know what I mean? I know it would be cruel for Bayern to lose it too, but at the same time, it's like an octagon fight, or it's like a boxing match. Yeah, it's like the Tyson Fury fight. People always remember the last bits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't remember the 70 minutes of just boring possession, whatever.
Like, I mean, you could have cut out most of this match and just gone straight to the penalties, really.
Exactly. Like, it wasn't like Bayern hit us with like a million goal scoring opportunities. There was some there, but it wasn't clean cut. A lot of
that's what I mean. They took a lot of shots and had a lot of possession.
Yeah.
But a lot of the shots were off target. Now Cole made a few big blocks. Czech made a few big saves, but other than maybe 2 or 3, that's about it.
Chelsea were never under serious threat.
I think that's the correct way to put it. Like, you were backs against the wall the whole time, but in terms of actual times that your heart would jump to your mouth, there was probably only 4 or 5. Like, obviously the penalty, Gomez's miss, exactly. Just the odd couple there. But you go into the penalties.
The penalties, I just thought, no.
One thing I liked here was that obviously it's in Bayern's, but so it's mainly Bayern supporters, and then you've got the Chelsea fans behind one net, and then the other net is the Bayern supporters. The way it always is. So they have to do the coin flip, and Lampard wins the first coin flip, so he gets to choose what end they're going to have the penalties at. Fucking have a guess which end you're going to pick. You're obviously going to pick the one with your supporters. And then Philip Lahm wins the second toss. So Bayern are up first. Well, he chooses that Bayern go up first, because that's what the second toss is, who's taking the first penalty. So Bayern up first. First penalty, miss. No, they scored their first one. And I'd say your heart. And it's one that Czech kind of gets a hand to it.
He did. He got it, and he took it on just inside. Yeah, the power got it in and took it inside. And I was kind of like, all right, we just need to score this.
But see, this is the thing with penalties. It's never the keeper's fault that he doesn't save a penalty. That's the thing with a penalty. You know, a penalty, you're pretty much dead certain that somebody's going to score. Next up, obviously Chelsea are going to take their penalty. Another. Not a great start.
Juan Mata.
Poor penalty. Tired legs.
Juan Mata. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You're asking how I'm feeling at this point.
Yeah.
Not so good after Juan Mata fucking misses that, because I'm like, this is fucking Germans against an English side. Like, these don't miss penalties. We don't get the opportunity to do that. So bring me to the next one. Fuck Mata. I'm glad where he is.
You look at this and you're like, okay, you would normally have Mata take.
By the way. Sorry.
You'd look at it and you'd be like, normally we'd have Mata taking a penalty, but normally Mata didn't even play the 90 minutes, and he's played 120 here.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you should still have enough power on the legs to get a fucking penalty.
I know, but tired legs. I don't know. I think it was a risk, but it's a risk that you have to take, I suppose. Obviously Lahm took the first one. Captain steps up and makes sure that he puts his team off to a good start. Gomez steps up here, and Gomez has been brutal this whole game in terms of taking his chances.
Yeah.
So I'd say you were kind of like, please have left those shooting boots in the locker room somewhere, please. But he obviously changed his boots, because no problems here. Slots at home easy.
Yeah.
Next
Is it Ashley Cole or David Luiz next?
David Luiz up next. How are you?
Fucking corner.
Now this is a quality penalty, and it's his long run.
Ashley Cole and David Luiz had the 2 best penalties of the whole night. Actually,
it's the long run up though. I never liked that long run up, because if you put too much power in it, you're gonna miss. You're gonna sky it. You're
asking me at this moment in time, believe it or not, I have 100% faith in David Luiz, because I'm like, I know he's gonna score this. He has to.
Yeah.
It's not my faith in David Luiz. It's my faith in fucking God or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, God, he has to. Do you know what I mean? He's had to blessing himself there.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's 2-1, obviously still not great, because he's missed the penalty. Yeah. Next up, Manuel Neuer. Did this shock you now?
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is this lad doing?
Yeah.
And then when I saw the penalty, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, I suppose.
No outfield player wants to take a penalty. No one wants to step up. Nobody. Manuel Neuer step up, no problem to him.
Yeah.
Cool as you like.
Bottom corner.
Now Czech gets a hand to this as well, but it's the
I
way.
remember these. I can actually see this penalty shootout in my mind.
I only rewatched it there the other day because we decided we were going to do this. But Czech gets a hand to this, but it's the way the ball bounces or something. Just it eludes him.
Yeah.
So it's actually a great penalty from Manuel Neuer.
Great penalty.
Now it's time for Frank Lampard to step up. Captain's job. Have to make sure I put this one away. And old Frankie boy doesn't miss many penalties.
No.
So you would have put the house on him burying this.
Yeah, if you offered me that £1 million,
yeah, go down the bookies there and stick that on. Yeah, Lampard's burying that. No bother. Olic, not really a player you'd put with. See, this is the strange thing. It's like none of the Bayern players wanted to take a penalty. Because Robin,
I think there was a psychological thing here when you look back on this game. At the time, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
But now I do. This was like McGregor warfare almost.
Yeah.
Chelsea had got into their head so much with that equalising goal and that penalty miss from Robin destroyed them.
Yeah, well, if Robin doesn't miss that penalty in the game, he's taken one here.
Yeah.
Definitely. He's definitely taken one here. Ribery would have taken one. Obviously, he's off injured. Where's Tony Kroos?
And what happens with Olic's penalty?
Skies it? Or does he sky it or just put it wide?
Wide.
It's just wide, isn't it? And it's a good bit wide as well. It's not even.
Yeah, and now this gives me hope. This is like
well, this is where you get the hope because now you're back at a chance of level. We can get level here. But like you're looking at it and you're like, Tony Kroos hasn't taken a penalty. Robin hasn't taken a penalty, and you're looking at it and you're going, what's going on here? Why are these boys not stepping up? Like Tony Kroos isn't a bad striker of a ball. Robin's not a bad striker of a ball. Robin's confidence gone. He's missed his earlier penalty. He's gone. Doesn't want to take it. And you see it. The likes of the goalkeeper taking the third penalty, Olic taking this one. These boys don't. The mental game's got to them. They've cracked.
And then Ashley Cole steps up.
Ashley Cole, no bother to him. Slots this home easy.
Far fucking corner, just
buries it. No stopping him. And so you're down to the final penalty, and it's sudden death. Normally sudden death doesn't come until after the 5 penalties.
Yeah,
this penalty. Sudden death.
And like who steps up? Bastian fucking Schweinsteiger. You're like, this is in.
You're certain. Yeah. We need to score our next one because he's scoring this. That's what you're thinking. Have to be. But Czech. Not having it. Not having it tonight. Gets his hands to it. Keeps it out. What a save. And then, as you say, it's time for the man of the moment.
At this moment in time, Ted, if you're asking me what I'm doing, which I know is going to be your next question, of course.
Big pressure player comes up now.
I literally looked at my dad and I said, I'm going to kiss your bald head right now. I swear to God. This is... And I actually, for the first time ever, I was like, I can't watch. I have to listen. Yeah. I have to just listen. And I went like that. And it's like, Drogba takes the run up and I took my hand off. You know the way naturally you just
You have to look. It's like a car crash. You have to.
I looked. But as soon as I saw the ball slow... And Drogba done it so coolly. He didn't even hit it hard.
No, had it in his head. That's where I'm putting it.
Opposite way, and when I saw Neuer go, I was like, and when I saw that run where Drogba's just like crying, running to the rest of the team, and I saw David Luiz. Oh man,
yeah, it's a great penalty from Drogba.
It's my favorite moment in football history. I don't think it could ever be.
I think the build up to getting to that moment probably was nerve wracking for you. But that's the thing. Without that nerve wracking, without having those nerves, that moment doesn't mean as much.
It was a roller coaster. Like, I mean, you can imagine. You watched that recently. You watched that obviously in the
last couple of days. Yeah.
So you imagine watching that live as a fan, as a Chelsea fan.
Well, I mean, look at the 2008 final. That's the way I look at that one.
Yeah. Yeah, very similar. Like Chelsea. They don't make it easy on teams. You know what I mean?
You're waiting for a mistake. Like when it comes to a penalty shootout, you're waiting for a mistake. from the other team. You're like, please let them make the mistake and not us, please. And you've made the mistake. You've made the first mistake here. And usually that's the end of it in a penalty shootout. Once one team makes a mistake, the other team just needs to stay calm.
It was just written. It was just written.
As Gary Neville said several times, it was written in the stars.
It really was.
There's one thing.
It was written for Drogba to do that, because I mean that was Drogba's last game for Chelsea until obviously he came back for another season. Like, but
the one obviously then this is when like he's win the Champions League, and this is when the big kind of the joke comes about of old John Terry in the full kit.
He 100% deserved to come out with that. You know what I mean?
I know, but it's something. It's so strange. Like, why did he have the full kit on? Now I know players have come out and said that it was the club's decision and that he was told to do it,
which is true. Yeah,
and that's fair enough. But people don't know that at the time. So at the time, it just looks like John Terry's gone, I'm gonna get me full gear for this bloody picture. And like he got a lot of stick over this, and understandably so, because it's a kind of strange thing to do, you know. Like Roy Keane missed our final, Paul Scholes missed our final.
I think the great thing about John Terry though is like he's got skin made of leather. Doesn't give a shit. It's like whatever. You know what I mean? Like I would have loved to see Roy Keane do that in '99 as well. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like fuck it. You know, you are just as much a part of that.
We wouldn't have got to the finals without Roy Keane, you know,
exactly.
Like the captain's goal against Juventus and stuff.
Same with John Terry. I mean, like when you look at that first leg, the 1-0 win against Barcelona, uber important that John Terry was there.
It was, It's just it was a strange thing for him to do. I know it wasn't his decision, but it's also a strange thing for him to have done.
I think full kit wanker. I mean, do you know what? John Terry done more from the stands, say. And some Man United fans will agree with me here, than like Harry Maguire has done in his whole Man United career.
50p head.
So
I think it's the problem is that
a kit wanker as well.
I think the problem is that we've seen John Terry during the game and he's in a full suit.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the big.
Oh no, he was in his tracksuit. He had the tracksuit on. He was on the bench.
You see him before that, and he's in a full suit, and then he's in a tracksuit, and you're like, did you change from a suit to a tracksuit, and then from a tracksuit to the gear? If the likes of Ramirez and stuff had come out in the full gear as well, it probably wouldn't have been made such a big joke. But it was the fact that for some reason it seemed to just be Terry, and I know it's the club saying you're the club captain, you were an important part of getting here. Like without you, we wouldn't have got here, and I know that's what happened. But Jesus, it was just so funny. Like when you look back at it, you're just like, what was he like? What were they thinking when they told him to do that? Like,
sorry,
no, you're grand.
Hay fever is now coming across the show.
But like it's a. I don't know. Like, when you look at this game, it's like a game of FIFA, because you look at the stats, and I know we said that stats aren't the be all and end all, but you look at the possession, you look at the shots and stuff. And it just looks like on paper Bayern should have battered us. But just wasn't there. Muller's missing simple chances. Robben not scoring his penalty in the action. And I think if he had scored that penalty, that was it over, because I don't think you boys would have fought back again from him scoring that. I think that would have killed the belief that he's had. But
no, definitely not.
In terms of from a neutral standpoint, the drama in this Champions League final is insane. Like it goes from this to that. It goes like when they scored, you just thought that's it over. No way did Chelsea have a chance here, and then Drogba to score in the dying minutes. Just it's incredible storytelling, I suppose. I know it's not a story because it's not. That's not how football is. It's an actual competitive sport. But like when you look back at it now, it's like it was someone had. It's like you in secondary school had been told, write a story about the road to the Champions League final for your team. That's something you'd write, you know. We lost our captain, and in the finals we got 1-0 down in the 80th. Like it's something you'd write, you know. It's like Roy Rovers type stuff, sort of. There's a throwback for anybody. It's like Roy Rover stuff. Oh, last minute we bring him on, get this lad on. He'll sort the problems out for us.
that was just the camaraderie that the team had.
Yeah.
You know.
But I'd say you partied that night and the night after.
Excuse me. That week after.
Yeah.
The whole week. Couldn't stop. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I would have been, well, not the same because that, like, for the United one, but it's the feeling you have. You're just like, oh, it's all this pent up nerves finally releasing. You're just delighted. And from a neutral standpoint, as I say, it's a great spectacle to watch, because we've seen some Champions League finals and they're nothing. They're not entertaining. Like, they're there, you know. This is one you could sink your teeth into. Had a story behind it.
Defo.
So obviously, like, you picked this one. This is obviously your favorite Champions League final because it's the one you have won. But it was a good one to take the look back on with the Champions League starting up again. I'm sure you're hoping that Chelsea can do something similar this year.
You never know. New manager, similar time.
New manager bounce, and it's not like you haven't got the players there.
Sorry, apologies to the guest there. I was trying to tell Ted to forgive me for my sneeze fits here, because I do get them.
It's gonna happen, but you have the players there to do something in the Champions League.
Oh yeah,
no doubt about it.
Listen, you know, people like Timo Werner and players like that don't just forget how to play football overnight. You know,
that's the thing. He's not scoring, but like, he's assisting a lot.
He was still doing
the work. He's still doing the work. Yeah.
Very, very interesting now, and it'll be very interesting to see in the summer. That battle for Haaland is going to be an interesting one to watch.
Because he's obviously got to move because of who his agent is. He'll be moving within the next year or two anyway.
Yeah, who was his agent actually again?
Raiola.
Yeah, so that's a United probably out of the question. So it'll probably be a battle between.
I don't know. We always seem to get his players, but just get rinsed in the process of it.
I think I've seen City and Chelsea are the two favourites, and then I saw Real Madrid in there, and I was like, Real Madrid don't have money.
No.
And neither do Barcelona.
No.
So he's going to end up in Manchester or London in the summer.
Yeah, I think so.
Same with Sancho. You know, one or the other. It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
You know, United will either get Haaland or Sancho, and Chelsea will probably get one of the other, or City will get one of the other too. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I don't think United need a Sancho. I think actually Haaland is exactly the type of player United need, to be fair.
I think we do need someone out on that right wing as well, but we need a centre back badly.
But you can't be greedy, because we know what United as well, that like I mean, look, the board have come out and said it. Yeah, there's not going to be astronomical transfers going for the next couple of years. So it's going to be that couple of players. I think defense is also still needs to be addressed with
centre back is a must for us. A must.
Harry Maguire must go back somewhere else. I mean, he's not. I'm sorry, he's not.
See, I think the problem is that he's not going anywhere. That's the problem.
Well, it'll be spent. Yeah.
It'll be Lindelof and because he's English, because Lindelof will be the one dropped over him.
Which is crazy, you know.
Lindelof's not much better, but like
no, but he's still a little bit better.
Yeah, you know? So it's one of those things, but we won't get too far into current football because that's for the upper tier to discuss, which all current Champions League. Obviously, Champions League is kicking back off on Tuesday. And I'm sure Niall will have something up on the upper tier on the day, or possibly the day after, because he'll probably record on the day of the Champions League. But obviously check that out. It's going to be a deadly show like all of his other ones. And he'll have, you know, continuous updates, obviously, on the weekly football from the leagues and news. And then he'll keep up to date with all the Champions League stuff as well. So obviously check him out. That's the upper tier, which is obviously part of the Dynamo Podcast Network. So you'd find the videos in the same spot. You'll find my own videos, and you'll find the Dynamo's Dozens videos on the YouTube page for Dynamo Podcast Network. But he obviously has his own Facebook page and his own Twitter. We'll leave them in the links for them below as well, obviously. But definitely check them out, because he keeps up to date with all the current football. I'm not going to give you anything current in the football, lads. Like, that's not what I'm about here.
Yeah.
I'm only looking at things in the past. If you want to look for the future and the present, you're in the wrong spot here, buddy. But obviously, we're at the end of the show here, so this is the time for you to get any plugs in that you want there. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
I want to apologize to everyone.
Do you do anything?
Well, I definitely want to apologize for my eyes now, because I have that kind of hay fever shit that I get. You know what it is? I'm not used to being up this late anymore. We're recording at a pretty late time, and I get really bad sneeze fits, and it's like, for all the people that have been watching there, I'm just over that. They're probably going, "What is happening at the Dynamo there? Is he okay?"
It's so obviously, as we record, it's obviously Valentine's Day the next day, so he's obviously got the flowers for Rachel there, and that's what's killing him.
That's actually a fairly good point.
The flowers you've bought Rachel are putting you. Look, see, now they're after putting you into a sneezing fit.
The pollen is obviously after getting to me. Yeah, that's a fair point. So, it's all real.
If anyone wants to blame, if you want to blame anyone for those sneezes, it's put the blame on Rachel, but don't tell her we said to do that either.
Ted, if you're asking me to plug out, and there's nothing that I can plug better than you can plug it for us, to be fair.
Well, obviously, the Dynamo's podcast network, we're all on that. Dynamo's Dozen was the original baby of it. So obviously check that out. As I said, the upper tier, myself here at Retrotainment. I don't really know what's going to happen with the under center. Obviously, the NFL's finished now for the next couple of months.
Under center is going to be coming. I can clarify today. The under center is going to be continuously going on a weekly basis. And Dara and the boys have actually come up with a really, really cool concept that they're going to get a fan on each week over the coming weeks in the off season to see what their team can actually do to improve their team's chances the following season. So it's going to be really cool.
Well, there you go. There's the inside scoop.
There you go. So they're going to get a like a Saints fan, for example. I'm not going to give away any names who will be on them. They'll get like a Dolphins fan, a Bears fan, and they'll have someone on each week to fill, the weeks that go by in between, and talk about how their team can kind of improve in the off season, and have a little bit of a draft fantasy kind of play, I suppose, if you want to say that. So that's going to be really cool. That's something I'd actually look forward to.
Yeah, well, there you go. So under center not going anywhere, lads. So keep following that for all your NFL or American football, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, King Woe's Court, if you want to listen to some music specifically. He mainly deals with the Irish metal scene, but I'm sure he's going to have a couple of other guests and things along the way.
He's got a really big guest coming next week as well. So
no spoilers on who it is, but big guest here now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Superior Comic Show. That's all about, as I suppose the name implies, comic books. But obviously Marvel and things like that, which have moved into the film industry, are discussed as well. Creeping Southpaw, which mainly looks at kind of boxing, but a bit of the UFC as well.
A tiny bit, yeah. It's mainly
not a whole lot of UFC, but obviously there's a certain crossover there, so you got to discuss. You got to discuss that. Then the Four Podmen, who just released a video earlier today, actually. So go check that out. The most recent one, obviously, on the Royal Rumble. It's just a look back at the 2021 Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Really good show where the lads, they don't dissect it, but just kind of discuss.
Talk about it, yeah.
Yeah. That's what, they're not critiquing it in that way, just discussing how they felt watching it.
The way it should be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd give that match 2 stars. None of that.
No, there's never any of that on the Dynamo Podcast Network. I think we've all got our own little ways and our little kind of I suppose little, what would be the word that I want to use here for each of these podcasts? We've all got our own little niches, of course, because we're talking about very specific stuff, but we've all got our own way of explaining it and a way of presenting it. that is quite, I think, unique compared to other podcasts. And that's not to shit on any other podcasts, but it's very different. We all like to come across to the people that watch the show with a different point of view, more so than a talking at you. We're talking with you, and that's what we like to do on the Dynamo Podcast Network. We like to make the listener feel that you are part of the conversation, and I think that's generally how a lot of people that listen to our shows feel. So,
yeah, definitely. So obviously, that's all the shows that are currently on the network. There is some, as Ian's alluded to on other podcasts, that there's some others in the pipeline. But you'll have to wait. You'll have to wait for them to come out before you find out what they are.
You have to wait till the book drops till we find out. Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously, like the page, all the pages for them. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, share the videos, and comment if there's something that you want us to discuss, like not just myself, but like if there's a certain type of guest you'd like to see Ian interview, like in a certain topic, like let him know. He'll get somebody, but
pretty easy to contact.
Like, I mean, ideas come to his head, but it doesn't mean they're going to be the ideas you have. Like that's kind of the joy of this stuff. So like if there's a film you want to see me go over, if there's a question you have that about football that you want Niall to do, if there's a band you want to see Carl talk to somebody from, like, just let us know. We'll do our best to get them covered. But obviously that's it for this episode, so we'll see you again next week. Good luck. Well, it's time for that part of the show that you all love, the advertisements for our sponsors. I know none of us really like listening to these, but the truth is that we wouldn't be able to bring you this content without them. So let's just get down to it. First off, Wrestling Mania, the top floor of Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. Really good shop for all of your wrestling needs, whether that's DVDs, title belts, pop figurines, other collectibles, t-shirts, and if you like boxing and MMA, he has stuff there for you too. If he doesn't have something that you want, you can ask him. He'll order it in. No problems. Really nice guy, the owner of this shop. So get on down to Wrestling Mania on the top floor of Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. Oh, what's that? A pandemic? Well, that doesn't mean he's closed. Catch him on Facebook. Just send him a message. He'll sort you out. No problems asked. And our other sponsor, Peter Hart Graphics. Now, this guy has done most of, if not all of the graphics for the Dynamo's podcast network. Really good stuff, guys. Seriously, this is top quality stuff. And he doesn't charge a bomb for it, which is the greatest part. If you need any sort of graphic designed, it's Peter Hart Graphics at gmail.com. That's Peter, P-E-T-E-R, Hart, H-A-R-T-E, Graphics, G-R-A-P-H-I-C-S at gmail.com. This guy is the easiest person I've ever worked with when it comes to making a graphic. You give him your ideas, he'll come back with something similar to what you wanted, and then if it might be exactly what you want, and if it's not, he is so open to criticism and tweaks, and he'll be back to you as soon as you give him what you want updated on that. This is easy stuff to get done, but actually if you try to do it yourself, you'd realize just how difficult it is to make it look smooth and clean. Not a problem with Peter Hart Graphics. Check out his stuff on his Facebook page, Peter Hart Graphics.